Let's go ahead and bring in Steiner Sports CEO, Brandon Steiner.
One of the country's top memorabilia mogul.
I have an unbelievable guest, Brandon Steiner.
Brandon's second to none.
We're live. Welcome. I told you to be back with two very, very distinguished guests. Scott MacGregor is one of those guys that, you know, when you go to the bank and they make you list all your assets, you put down Scott on that list. And then I've got Kevin Singleton also, who's a contributor in this new book that Scott just came out with, Standing O. And what I love about this book, because you know I'm a do-gooder, or at least I like to think I am, and I like to think that I can do more good. And I hope that you think you can do more good. And if you're thinking about doing more good, or thinking about sharing some of the good you do, that's what these guys are doing here with this book, Standing O. Scott, welcome. You know, I've been following you for quite a while. You're all over at social. It's nice to meet you, Kevin. What's up with this book, Standing O? Why'd you write it?
So I had.
Who's it for? Who is supposed to? You know, they get a little confused out there. But all these, who's this book for?
This book is really for everybody that wants to be inspired by some pretty interesting people that have a real eclectic background. So the genesis of the book was I have this really very interesting group of people that I have access to.
I agree.
And I get the benefit of learning from them all the time. And I thought, boy, how do I spread that to more people? And in conjunction, because my company, which is called Something New, we have a social mission that we call Something Good, and we give back to Elevate New York and keep on playing. So I wanted to figure out a way to shine a spotlight on them and also raise funds for them. So
with this book, a lot of lessons in there, but
Yep.
give me the underlying theme to this book. So, you know, if you're out
Sure.
there, there's a whole series. You have a chapter on, you know, one of my stories
Yeah.
in there, but give me the underlying tone of this book. So what the real takeaway on this book is.
gratitude for life lessons. So it's all of those people that have impacted us in our lives that sometimes we don't say, hey, thank you for that lesson, and we don't share that lesson with other people. So I thought giving people a forum to do that in such a public way and having some people, be in a book. So one, Catherine Mobley, she had given her Standing O to one of her teachers, and she didn't tell her about it. She said, I want you to come to New York. So we had a launch party for the book. So her teacher was in New York. They're in their hotel room, and she says, I want to show you this. And of course broke down in tears and was
Gratefulness
very grateful.
and
Yeah.
paying it forward.
Yep.
How do you meet up with Kevin? And Kevin, how did you guys connect? And how does your story fit into this book?
So I actually met him through a random friend on LinkedIn. He's a LinkedIn god, this guy. I mean,
I love LinkedIn, and everybody out there knows, you know, we're all about LinkedIn because it's, you know, the platform is at least, you know, do I need to really see a picture of your cat? Nothing. I love your cat. Don't get me wrong, even though I'm allergic, for the record. But, you know, it gets kind of a little bit, sometimes the other platforms get a little spread out, where LinkedIn seems to be a little more focused
Agreed.
On the business, the learning, and it just seems a little cleaner. But I love all the platforms. I mean, everyone has their own, every platform has their own niches. So you connected with him on LinkedIn.
Connected with him on LinkedIn. He found out what we were doing with our organization, Elevate New York. Ended up checking it out, doing a site visit, started bringing friends. He came on the board, and now he's the chairman of the board.
Oh, wow.
And so this is one of the cool things he does as our chair. He's always looking to introduce us to people, and so he curated this book, and I had an opportunity to write a chapter.
Now,
and
who's your
chapter?
Standing O?
My chapter is right before yours. I
Yeah.
think it might be the only time in life that I'm in front of you.
I'm sure your story's better than mine.
You know, they're all unique. I love what you say about writing. You know, counting in twos. You know,
That's the two
pretty-
things is a big thing in
Yeah, it's
Steiner.
really cool.
Well,
I have one question
I
for
mean,
you.
one is like, if I say I got one thing to talk to you about,
Right.
that just seems soft and weak. And if I say I got three things, it's like an overload. Oh, what's this guy throwing on me now? Two things feels comfortable. Two's a couple. You get 2 points. When you in hockey, when you win a game,
Yeah.
you know,
I used to play basketball in, in
2
the
points.
1900s.
When basketball was basketball, when you actually scored, you
That's
got 2
right.
points.
That's
That's
right.
3-point shooting extravaganza. Which, by the way, you in favor of 3 points? Do you like the 3-point shot? Because I'm feeling it's way overplayed out. If we're going 3 points, let's go 4. or maybe give more points for getting a shot in the paint. That would screw everybody up.
Wow, that would mess
Right?
them, that would really mess
There's
them
too
up.
much emphasis on the three-pointer. Guys are turning down layups. In my day, if you turn down a layup for an outside shot, the coach would take you out.
Yeah.
But I like the three-point shot, though. Obviously, I'm a big Curry fan. Not to say the least. I mean, I play with a shirt on. I mean, I try to be as much like Steph Curry as I can be, which is a very minuscule part. But I would like to see more emphasis back. I'd like to see the post play. I'd like to go see, some of that inside the paint stuff. But I don't know. It drives me crazy. But you were going to say
My
the two
standing
things.
O.
Yeah.
So my standing O is to my mom. But
Oh,
can I
nice.
ask you one? I had one question that I wanted to ask you. I know this is your interview.
It's an open forum. I mean, you got to have balls, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't you eat ballpark food before the fifth inning?
Does anybody out there know? I knew you guys. Has anybody read my book? Obviously, it comes in unread.
I didn't read your book, but I read your chapter.
But all
in
kidding
this book.
aside, I mean, you don't eat ballpark food before the end of the second or third inning because it's probably left over from the game before. You think that's throwing that food out? And while we're on a roll, don't eat shellfish on a Sunday. You go to a
Sushi,
restaurant.
yeah,
Don't eat
right.
sushi or shellfish on a Sunday because you know that the very earliest, the latest that was delivered was more likely on Thursday or Friday. It's already 3-4 days old.
Okay.
I never eat in a restaurant where you're sitting sideways or you see the waiter's belly button. Don't eat airplane food. Don't eat airport food while we're at it. Just saying.
Wow.
By the way, never eat pizza as soon as the pizza joint opens up before 12 noon because that's left over from the game before. Never drink a drink. You ever see the drinks in those clear plastics where you can actually see the drink through the plastic?
Yes.
Oh, those are contamination. Heaven. I mean, there's more unless that thing's cleaned out properly. Those slushies and that.
a petri
you got to
dish.
stay away from that. That's all kinds
Wow.
of contamination. I mean,
Okay.
you really want to stay away from that.
And I'm a germaphobe, so I'm loving you. I'm loving you already. You're
Never,
helping me.
never touch. The inside pocket of an airline where they put the magazines.
Oh, yeah.
I don't touch that because that they don't clean. Nobody's going through the airline opening up the pocket. Give me hands and.
Right.
I mean,
love
are you
this.
kidding me?
I absolutely
Stay
love
away
it.
You
from
put a lot
that.
of thought into this.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got a lot of issues. Or I've got a lot of issues, which is probably more like it.
I like your issues,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I have the same issues. Now I'm
Yeah.
more equipped. So my standing O is to my mom.
Nice.
And my mother is my hero, and it's about forgiveness. And the concept about forgiveness is, so I'm wearing my dad's cufflinks. My dad graduated from Harvard in '71. I'm sure there were not a lot of black guys walking around Cambridge, '69 to '71.
I wouldn't know because there weren't a lot of my friends or me walking around Cambridge.
Right.
But anyway, that's a great tribute to him. Beautiful story.
Beautiful story, but he left us, and so he had intellect, but he didn't have the ability to build relationships with my mom.
Left us is like one night he just didn't come home, or did he?
Before I was
or
2
he
years,
passed away.
Yeah, before I was 2 years old, he had left us and cheated
Okay.
on my mom, and then remarried, cheated. My mom, as a matter of fact, when I was telling my mom about him graduating from Harvard, she didn't know because it was years after they had been divorced. She didn't even know because she lost contact with him in '66. He went there '69 to '71.
Okay.
And I started. I wrote it to her because she never said one negative thing about my dad. All my life, even to this very day, she's 80 years old. She will never say anything negative, and so she modeled forgiveness to me as a person. And I like to feel like I'm the kind of person that if someone does me wrong, I'm quick to forgive, because when you don't forgive, it actually hurts you more than the person you're holding the grudge
No
against.
question, you get into the negative energy trap where that stuff's floating around inside you. But there is forgiveness, and then sometimes in cases like this, mercy.
Yes.
If you can't forgive somebody, you can't find a place to give somebody forgiveness, then you need to find mercy. Mercy is giving somebody forgiveness that doesn't even necessarily deserve it, but in the scheme of life and hoping that it'll come back to you around the corner and around the bend, you give somebody mercy. And I think that we all need to employ a lot more forgiveness because it does release and resolve a lot of issues you have for yourself.
Yes.
But more importantly, if you can't find forgiveness, which usually couples in with disappointment, then give mercy.
Yes.
Because at some point, this too shall pass. And
Yes.
when it does, all that stuff that's torn up your insides, you can't put that back.
You can't.
Great story, though.
So that's why I wrote
So
it.
you wrote that story to thank your mom for all the, for staying positive and
That's right.
and not blurring the blurring her problem with your dad.
That's right.
Into your problem.
And I actually forgave my dad, reached out to him during the end of his life. He passed away in '07 and left me an inheritance, which I was totally not expecting. And I used the money from that inheritance to start our organization, which is kind of cool because every year we take our kids back to Harvard. And so I explained to them that 40 years ago, my dad was on this campus. With the knowledge he learned here, he ran businesses. He was a professor out in California. and then he left us money. I used that money to do R&D, and now you're back at the school where it all started 40 years ago. It's kind of a cool story.
That's cool. Great story. How's the book doing?
It's doing well.
And if you're out there, what's the takeaway on this book? What do you want people to remember when they pick up this book? What are they going to walk away with, Scott?
To really make sure that they think long and hard about who has helped them in their life, what they've learned, and to make sure that you don't wait too long to say thank you and give that gratitude back. Because I think there's so many things that we kind of just keep to ourselves, and we're grateful, but we don't necessarily say, hey, Brandon, thanks for the support that you gave me during this time in my life, or some lesson that you may have learned from a coach, a teacher, whoever. So at the end of the book, we encourage people to think about that and make sure that you do it.
Now, Kevin talks about the proceeds, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, don't buy this book. Let me be clear about this. Buy 5 copies of this book. A copy for you, a copy for a friend, a relative, and a couple people you know actually could use this because maybe they're not quite as grateful as they should be. Pick up 5 copies. It's not a big deal. And the reason being is that the money goes to 2 charities, right? It gets
Correct.
split up between 2. What are the 2? I know, Kevin, you mentioned
Elevate New York.
Elevate New York, which is a great cause. What does Elevate New York do exactly?
Yeah, we basically get kids in the poorest congressional district in America to graduate from high school pretty much on time, which every kid that drops out costs us anywhere from $235,000 to about $2 million a year. Over the course of their life. So we believe that in the last few years we've probably saved the American government between $14 million and maybe $120 million over the kids who have graduated that would have dropped out. One of those kids, a girl in our first class, is a graduate of Syracuse in econ. Karen Lopez, one of our all-stars.
That's great to hear. Love that. Great cause. I love giving kids that are, maybe a little disadvantaged or a lot disadvantaged and giving them first-class opportunities, not opportunities for disadvantaged.
That's right.
So sometimes I think people, when they reach out and they want to help disadvantaged, they feel like that the disadvantaged should just be happy with any help that we give, which to some degree is possibly true. But I also like to give disadvantaged kids first-class opportunities.
Yes.
That's above and beyond maybe what they're even used to seeing and hearing and feeling. But it's, hey, you're a kid. You're entitled to be the best kid you can be.
Yeah.
That comes with the stuff that best kids get. So when I think about what stuff I do for other kids in the neighborhood community, I want to give them what I would give my own kids.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I'm
not just trying to show up with a few pairs of sneakers.
Right?
I want to show up with Jordans, Kobe's,
Yes.
and Yeezys. You know what I mean? Like, how do you like these? Nice, huh?
Yeah.
When I send my kids from my homes in White Plains, I want them to stay in 4-star hotels.
Wow.
And the group home parent will go, well, we don't really have to spend that kind of money. I said, yeah, but I want them to see the nicest hotel. When they work really hard, I want them to know, like, you could stay in hotels like this.
That's right.
I always stayed in flea bag hotels because we didn't have a lot of money. But once I started staying in those types of hotels, I got a little more motivated. I'm like, so I ain't going back to that flea bag hotel. I like this 4-star action, man.
That's right.
I like that chocolate on my pillow and a chocolate chip cookie downstairs at the desk. I got to work harder.
So, piggybacking off of that, Keep On Playing is the other organization that we support.
Nice.
And
The
one
2
of the
charities,
things,
right?
Yes, sir.
Yep,
correct.
By
So
the way,
one-
just before we do that, how do I get a hold of your charity? The website.
Oh, www.elevatenewyork.org.
Cool.
And you
All right.
spell out New York. Don't put NY because you won't find us.
You got to get complicated.
Yes, Elevate New York.
I love that. And you were saying the other charity.
is Keep On Playing. So it's keeponplaying.org. So started by Marnie Schneider. Her grandfather was Leonard Tost, owned the Philadelphia Eagles, started the Ronald McDonald House. Her mom is Susan Spencer, first and only ever general manager of an NFL team. But one of the things that you were mentioning before that Marnie does that I think is cool is she'll provide first-class transportation for the kids in the program to go to minor league baseball games. So instead of just getting a school bus, which would do the trick,
Yes.
typically we're making the donation to fund a bus,
A luxury coach,
that
kind of thing. Cool.
to take these kids, and they're blown away,
cool.
blown away. So
You
it's
put a
very
lot
cool.
of effort into this book. Just been following you just even in the last 6 months. I mean, what's next for you?
We're probably going to do another one. We've had a lot of people reach out, and they're very interested in participating in another book. So an encore maybe to Standing O. So we'll see. But just keep building my business, because the better, and that's really one of our whys. So when we think about our business, and we're a talent acquisition agency, we know that the better we do, the more we're able to give to Elevate New York, Keep On Playing, the things that we do for the homeless, dedicating ourselves to investing ourselves in a book, and all the other things that go along with promoting a book and that. So
that's cool.
Very focused on our 3 whys, which are to give back, to create an incredible candidate experience, and to create an incredible client experience in a very dysfunctional industry.
Let me ask you something. Just because we've, I feel like I kind of met you on LinkedIn. For people out there, there's a lot of Project X, young, trying to build their businesses, trying to do more good, trying to do more, do well. I get it. Why LinkedIn, and how have you found LinkedIn? What are some of your tricks to making LinkedIn work for you? Why are you so big on LinkedIn?
Well, number one, in my business, which is talent acquisition, so a recruiting business, which I started because I was a vice president of sales and marketing for 17 years, and I was extraordinarily frustrated. I'm being very kind and politically correct by saying extraordinarily frustrated with my experiences, so I thought we could build a better mousetrap. So 3 years in business, we've won 3 consecutive American Business Awards for innovation. So I think I think we've done
But
that.
LinkedIn gives you, is there something particular that LinkedIn that somebody can learn out there, or a way to use LinkedIn, or how do you view LinkedIn for somebody who's just getting started on LinkedIn?
Use it to build relationships. People too often will connect with me, and the next thing I know, as soon as I say accept, I get 14 paragraphs on why I should buy whatever they're selling. And it's just not how you would naturally build a relationship. So I never do that. And I think my whole life, I grew up very, very poor in an affluent town, which is a weird way to grow up. But I've always tried to build relationships without monetizing them. So I never say, how will this relationship between Brandon and I, how am I going to turn that into money in the next 30, 60, or 90 days? I just say, is Brandon or Kevin or Jesse Itzler or this person or that person, are they interesting? Are they a good person? Are they smart? Can I learn something from them?
Do they see me? Do they understand me? Can they help me? But I think about when I get a relationship started, I'm thinking not only, and I think one of the big mistakes that people make is they see a relationship and immediately they're thinking, what can they get out of it?
Right.
As opposed to what value they could bring to it. And my initial instinct, anytime I'm starting a relationship, is how can I bring value to this relationship? How can I help this person?
Right.
And I think if you want to fill yourself, you got to forget yourself. I think that the success starts when the selfishness ends.
Yeah.
And I think most people are very selfish, and they're just very concerned with what they can get. They see an opportunity, but somebody's wealthy, or they have a big company that they're working for, and immediately the wheel starts spinning about what they can get out of this, as opposed to what they can give towards it.
Yeah.
Because people that have a lot of money in big companies, they're smart, and they want to surround themselves with people that help them win. I'm not spending my whole day figuring out how I can help other people win. But at some point, if people are helping me win, of course, I got to think about how I can reciprocate, right? Yes. And I think people get confused about that whole notion.
Yeah, it's a tremendous platform to start building relationships, but it essentially it's the things you should be doing without the efficiency of a platform.
And you should be doing it just with your contact list. It's amazing how people will sit with a contact. Like go back, look at your contacts, dig in, check in with people. I mean, instead of sitting there, all numb and watching some movie on a plane, go through your contacts and see what's going on, and reach out to people and check in and see how their kids are doing. And this is just 101 under a different mask of LinkedIn. I mean, this is 101 that I learned 40 years ago. It's like, check in with people you've met, see how they're feeling, see how they're doing, see how their wife is, see how their kids are doing in school. Duh. And LinkedIn gives you the shortcut of it. I mean, LinkedIn gives you the shortcut of it, so you see the person posting, say, I've been under the weather a little bit, or my kid just graduated from Harvard, whatever it is, and participate. Don't just post.
Right.
Participate. You know what I mean? And get involved with what other people are interested in, not just wait for people to get involved with what you're interested in. I think that's another mistake people make is they just post as opposed to interact with other posts and share. And that's the whole kind of, I think, the whole measure of it all. And people kind of miss with social media is but, it's a learning process. I mean, it takes a little time. I think it took me a little time to really understand how to work my database and really, not who you know, what you know, but what you know about who, and be more intrigued, be more interested in supposed to being interesting,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's
kind of a simple
fascinating
concept, right?
It's beautiful.
to dig in and find out about people and
it's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The joy of it
So-
is finding out what somebody's about, what's important to them, and helping them.
That's right.
I mean, it's far greater than almost anything you do.
Right.
Right?
But there's some simple stuff that people just don't do. I mean, I'd love to find out how Crosby likes working at Starbucks and what his experience was like at Deloitte. And I think, boy, how easy was that for me to figure that out? It
Now
took
I
about
know
2 seconds.
you see me because
Right.
at the end of the day, as a parent, what's more important than your kids,
Right.
and how they're doing, and you can help me, assist me with my kids, or know how then you now become important,
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
right? I've taken more clients and done things for their kids in such a rogue, random way to get relationships started, where the kids have now grown up, which makes me old now, but the kids have grown up now, and they come to me and they're in their 20s, like, you're not going to believe the friction I had with my dad when I was 12, and you took us to that game, and we went into the green room, and it was a complete game changer in my relationship with my dad because I was such a hockey fan, and he was busy, and he never really took me to many games, and all of a sudden I went to the game of all games, and my favorite player of all time. Like, it changed everything. And then we started going to games, and we started talking.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like, that's just music in my ears, because the money grab's the money grab, but when you change somebody's perspective or life a little bit, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I love those stories, and I'm grateful that even at a young age, I kind of picked up on that from some of my mentors, how important doing that type of things were as important as anything.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Being there for people.
And, listen, raising kids is probably the hardest thing you can probably do. I mean, I don't think there's a harder job in life than being a parent.
Yeah.
Right? So you need all the help you can get.
Well, that's what we try to do with Elevate, and that's what Marnie tries to do with Keep On Playing.
Very true.
We can never replace a parent, but we can augment. We can be there. There's some studies that say you need one loving, caring, long-term adult relationship for you to be successful in life.
So, Scott, and I agree with that. Standing O, give me the best story that you got out of this book. I know there's like one. Let's exclude my story, but
You can exclude mine too.
I will exclude his too. But is there one story that really stands out here that you want to share?
Yeah, so I mean, I think they're all tremendous, and they're very, very different.
They really are.
I would say the one, and maybe this is, I just saw a good friend of mine speak yesterday with his wife. So Captain Todd Seneff, 29 years as a Navy SEAL. I was just in Coronado at his retirement, and I just saw him speak. He and his wife speak yesterday. So he writes in the book, and it's essentially talking about the people that are left behind, that are home, that are supporting our warriors that are overseas, and what that means. I think if you don't have a tear in your eye when you read Captain Todd Seneff's chapter, then I don't know. But there's so many great, interesting ones. Mark Brown, who played for the Jets, wrote one called Dear Football. So his ode was to football because it literally changed his life. And getting into Auburn and then making it into the NFL. So very different story, but still something that really resonates.
We're going to give away a couple copies of the book. We have 2 copies here that Scott's going to sign. Tell me your favorite Standing O story. Love to hear it. Somebody that you want to thank. Maybe it starts with just thanking and posting it, but love these Standing O stories, and maybe a couple of them we can follow up with and maybe do something special for that person who did something special for you. Love those stories. Love to hear from you. Drew, we got to post a little thing on Twitter and Instagram, though, to have people do that on top of this interview. So we make sure. I want to hear some feedback, and then we'll send you some gift cards, and maybe we'll do something special for that person who did something special for you.
Love it.
Frank has a quick question,
Okay.
just saying, is this the first book that you've written, Scott?
It is. It's a stretch to say that I wrote it because I essentially had 52 people write it for me. I did give out my own standing O's, but yes, the first of hopefully a series that we can, inspire people and raise money, and I think even more importantly sometimes is giving a spotlight to organizations that people don't necessarily know, like an American Cancer Society or
a small charity.
Right. Yeah. So Elevate New York and keep on playing because I get to interact with the founders and because we get to shine a big spotlight on them. I think people give to organizations that they recognize. So that's what I'm trying to do is get folks to recognize some of the great work that
I think
Kevin
people.
and Marnie are doing.
I think people, if they know more, they're going to do more.
No doubt.
The hard part of some of the small causes, it's not like they have all kinds of money in their marketing and advertising budget,
Right.
like maybe a cancer or a Red Cross. But so this does a great job in shining a spotlight on some of those small organizations that do good, but really don't have enough opportunity to go broadcast it. So that's great. Love that. That's why I love hearing the do good stories or the spotlight stories in your lives. So please write them in. I love hearing it. Love you guys. Thanks for joining. Pick up the book. I know I hit you with a few books this week, but this is a good one. It's an easy read, great airplane reading book. Easy, you can pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down.
Beach, summertime.
Yeah, easy book, but kind of feel good and
52 authors, one a
do
week.
good.
That's another way to do it.
And it's a good do good book. You know, it kind of will inspire you to go and say thank you to someone and do a little more good as far as maybe you want to reach out and maybe help somebody. I always say, what would you do for someone that you knew couldn't help you back? Because that's the real joy.
Wow. That's
you
great.
know, right? Everybody have a great day. Let's talk to you soon.